And Gary, we have a milestone to talk about this week in Major League Baseball.
Yes, we do, Rich. We got Albert Pujols out in California with the LA Angels of Anaheim going for home run number 600. And, Pujols been a great player for a number of years now, Rich, with the St. Louis Cardinals, of course, and also with the LA Angels now. And, Rich, the funny thing about this is there's not a lot of excitement about it, at least here on the East Coast. Now, it could be part of the reason could be because he does play in Anaheim, and they're not exactly contending. Well, I guess they are contending in their own way, but they're about a 500 team, and he may not even be the best player on the team. And the best player on the team, of course, is the best player in baseball, I would say, right now, and that's Mike Trout, who unfortunately just got injured. But it just struck me as odd how quiet to talk about Albert Pujols and going for 600. This is a major milestone. I mean, there are not that many guys in the history of baseball that have hit over 600 home runs. So it's pretty incredible, and good luck to him. I hope he gets it very, very soon.
And there was a few articles in the publications and online. New York Times had an article on it, Los Angeles Times, ESPN, how the Angels fans are showing little excitement as well. You mentioned about the East Coast not really going gaga over it. But even Angels fans didn't sell out the last couple nights, and that's kind of strange because you figure if you're a big time Angels fan, you would want to probably be there and say, "Hey, I stayed there for the 600th home run of Pujols." So, yeah, as you said, the Angels closing in on this record, and not too many people above him, as you stated as well, Gary. Of course, the leading home run hitter, Barry Bonds, at 762, if you want to accept that record. Uh, Hank Aaron, the next at 755. Currently, Albert Pujols is number 9, hanging in there with 599. Number 8 is Sammy Sosa with 609, and then Jim Thome with 612. So I think he could legitimately pass Thome this year.
No doubt about it. He has had some injuries in the last couple of years, off and on. Pujols did, but if he can stay healthy, I think he's averaging roughly around 20 or so home runs a year. So he could probably pass Thome at that, and who knows? He could probably even challenge Ken Griffey before he hangs up his spikes. But it is odd that the fervor, if you will, is not out there, and especially in LA, because it is a big thing. And unless they're too busy rooting for the Dodgers, and I don't know how their loyalty gets split out there. But it's kind of a shame in a way too, and we don't hear enough about it here, uh, like we did other milestones that have happened in the past.
Yeah, and maybe Major League Baseball themselves might have something to do with that. They don't really put a lot of hoopla towards these things. They sort of prefer that, this takes a life of its own, and the Angels do what they have to do about it. But certainly no big hoopla from the MLB. Taking a look at the rest of the contract for Albert Pujols, he's signed through the age of 41 in the year 2021. That last year is a $30 million contract. So they have his services for a few more years. So theoretically, if he was to be able to hit even 15 home runs the remaining years, you might see somebody climb up there. Not in the 700 range, maybe, but he might slide into second or third place. Maybe not quite a Babe Ruth, but he might catch Alex Rodriguez at 696 if he can hang in there.
I yeah, it's possible, but I think it's gonna be tough for him to even catch Willie Mays at what, 680? Is it
660 for me. Yeah.
a little dyslexic there with the with the 8 and a 6. I I'd be surprised if he hits Willie Mays, but I mean it's possible, and it's really strange that Willie Mays at one time I think was second when he retired, second or third, and now he's down to what, fifth, sixth?
Yeah, Willie Mays currently sitting at fifth on the all-time home run records. Alex Rodriguez is fourth. Babe Ruth, 714, of course. He's sitting at number three. And Hank Aaron, of course, at 755, sitting at number two. So he's in some great company. The baseballreference.com has their blurb down toward the bottom of the players' pages on how they feel that they're suited for the Hall of Fame. And his numbers just totally eclipse what they say is an average Hall of Famer. He's almost three times the player of a Hall of Famer. So you're seeing a little bit of history here, folks. Folks out there in Anaheim, I hope you get a chance to go out and see it.
And if you go out there you would think the outfield would be packed, so everybody would want to catch that ball, and it should go up into the six figures at least, I think.
Yeah, you would think something like that would be a collectible item. I'm sure a fan would like to exchange that for all the swag that some of these players give towards them. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The Angels are home through Sunday. We're doing this podcast over the weekend here, June 2nd, June 3rd. They're in town in Anaheim till Sunday. So be interesting to see if he does it against the Twins. Of course, the Twins beat up on the Anaheim Angels Friday night, 11-5. They lost, but then the Angels go out on the road. So if it doesn't happen in Anaheim, it might happen in Detroit because they're heading to the Tigers after this series with the Twins at home. Hope he gets it at home.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to do it at home. It's always nicer to do these things at home in front of the hometown crowd. There's just something about it, if you
Me.
don't
Don't scare
know,
me.
it kind of taints it a little. It doesn't. I shouldn't say tainted. It's still a great accomplishment, but you really would like to do it in front of the hometown crowd.
Yes, indeed. And as you said, Mike Trout, an injury. I kind of saw this coming. The way he plays so strong, I'm surprised he hasn't been on the DL before this. And I don't know if you saw that play, Gary, where he slid into second and his hand sort of like touched the bag wrong, but it wasn't that hard of a collision. It was amazing that he hurt his hand and his thumb so badly on a slide like that.
And Rich, that's why they wear these sliding gloves and everything else. And I go back to my ad nauseum about how these guys don't know how to do fundamentals and they don't know how to slide. Perhaps if he slid the way we used to slide 40 years ago, he wouldn't have got hurt. But yeah, it probably had to happen. You just hate to see it happen to a guy of that caliber, and you hate to see anything having to do with the hand or possibly the wrist. This was his thumb. Because sometimes those things can be nagging and annoying little injuries. So hopefully it gets. He had surgery, I believe, and hopefully he gives it time to heal. And look, I don't think the Angels in that division are going anywhere. Houston's just unbelievable this year and running away with it. So I don't think the Angels have got really the legs to go the way anyway. So don't rush him back. Let him heal and let him get back to full health and be the player that he has been.
And of course, only 25 years of age, got plenty of playing time left. But as you said, some of those strange injuries can come back to haunt you. Um, he's well on his way to the Hall of Fame almost, even with a few years under his belt. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him when he returns. Probably 4 to 6 weeks, I think they're saying. So right after the All Star break is probably when we'll see him, or maybe, as you said, an extra week, maybe August. We'll see how he uh, heals up from that surgery. And what a great player he is. I'd love to watch his game.
Yeah, and we got to watch him. What was it, last week when he was here in New York to play, and the just a terrific player. And it's a shame we're going to miss him at the All-Star game this year as well. So, but hopefully, as I say, he takes the time to heal and comes back at 110%.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's take a little break in the show right now. We'll come back on the other side and talk about the draft coming up in just 9, 10 days from now, the MLB amateur draft. More talk about that right after this break on the Baseball Talk Radio Show with Rich and Gary. We'd love to hear your comments. Please send your emails to talk@mlbthisweek.com. You can reach Gary at baseballtalkradio.com, or me, Rich at baseballtalkradio.com. We'd love to hear your comments, so send them in. Subscribe to the Baseball Talk Radio Show on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, or Podomatic.com. This way, you'll never miss an episode. Harry, I think I'm going to go over to baseballtalkradio.com and listen to all the baseball talk shows there. Do you think I can cram it all in on a weekend?
No, I don't think so. It's going to take you quite some time, but there's a little bit of everything there. Cover most of the teams, and Japanese baseball, fantasy baseball, all there at baseballtalkradio.com, the home of great baseball talk shows. And go check it out. It's a great place. And if you'd like to help us out a little bit, you can go to patreon.com, become a sponsor of the show. Help us out. $2 a month, $1 a month, anything you can give it all would be gratefully appreciated, and help us do more of this kind of thing, the video, and expand our capabilities, and maybe some on the road surprises in the summertime. So that's patreon.com/baseball talk. Give whatever you can. We greatly appreciate it. And this is the time of the year, the spirit of giving is strong with everyone. So please go and help us out.
You're listening to BaseballPodcasts.net.
Wouldn't it be great if you could get a PhD in life through baseball? Welcome to Baseball PhD, a tour company for your brain. 30 major league teams, 100 places to see. Let's touch them all as we make the road trip of a lifetime.
We're back live talking baseball on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. And Gary, before we went into the break, we said we were going to talk about the 2017 MLB draft, and that's coming up in just a week to 10 days from now, June 12th. MLB draft, not quite as big as the NFL one we had a couple of weeks ago that was held in Philadelphia, but still a nice draft. Not hearing you on that, Gary.
Sorry about that. It is a nice draft, but it's a lot harder to follow than the NFL or any of those drafts because there's just they draw from everywhere. I mean, they have high school kids, college kids. It's hard to really, you can follow the college and kind of zoom in on that, so to speak. But it's very difficult to really track unless you're really into it to find out who these guys are. And as I say, it's sometimes it's like high school kids that kind of throw you the loop in there.
Yeah, it's very tough to predict, as you said, and you can even make great picks if you don't have the number one pick. So this amateur draft, I think the Phillies got a guy like Chase Utley as like a 15th pick or a 17th pick, I believe he was, and Cole Hamels, I believe, was like a 15th pick. So it doesn't always have to be that number one. If you get a nice early first round pick, you could be in for something good. But as you said, Gary, the talent is spread all over the place. And some of these players that are drafted don't even accept the team that they're drafted to. So interesting time, though. I like to follow it when I can, but I'm no expert on it. I don't really delve into all the names and the top prospects and things like that. Maybe for my own favorite team or two, but certainly not across the league. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You have to be, really, really into it. And, uh, I kind of tend to follow it more after the team, like you do with your team, and after they do the draft. But I'll check it out. I'll watch parts of it and see who the Mets pick, of course, and because there's a good chance I'll be seeing them in Brooklyn. So I'll try to keep on top of stuff like that.
Yeah, and the first pick in the draft, of course, goes to the Minnesota Twins. They're doing quite well this year already. A lot of these players that are drafted take 5 years or so to get to the big game unless they're very advanced. But number two pick is the Reds, and number three, the Padres this year. The Rays have the fourth pick. The Braves, the Atlanta Braves, with number five. Number six is the Athletics, followed by the Diamondbacks. And then the Phillies pick at number eight, the Brewers at nine, and then the Anaheim Angels round out the top 10 picks in this year's draft.
And funny, some of those teams are doing fairly decent this year. Had lousy years last year, but up to this point this year are doing pretty decent. Minnesota, of course, is in first place in the AL Central, and Milwaukee's having a pretty decent year. They're in first place in the NL Central. So a couple of those teams having good years, and they get to add to it.
Indeed, I guess years of not playing too well have gotten them the draft picks. That was the word around Philadelphia in the past week. Of course, when they tanked, they had the worst record in baseball. People started saying, "Oh, well, maybe they'll get the number one pick. Big deal. That's going to help you in 5, 6 years."
Well, it's not like basketball or football where you can get the number one pick and it'll help your team, especially in basketball. It helps your team almost immediately. It doesn't work that way in baseball, and as you say, it takes a number of years to work their way through the system. But it's nice to have the number one pick.
Yes, it is. Well, let's take a look at the standings for this week in baseball. I'll take the American League. The Yankees at 32-21, 17-8 home record for them. Followed closely 3 games back, the Baltimore Orioles, 29-24, 19-8 home record for them. So both teams have amazingly good home records. In the hunt after them with a 29-25 record is the Red Sox. So all three teams doing very well at home, and that's what's carrying them. Skipping over to the Central, the AL Central, it's the Minnesota Twins, probably your surprise club of the year, 28-23. They're better away from their own home. 16-5 record. They actually have a losing record at home. So go figure that.
Yeah.
Uh, and the Cleveland Indians right behind them, a game and a half out, 28-26. Over on the West, it's practically getting to be a runaway with the Astros at 39 wins and 16 losses already, a 709 winning percentage, .709, 20-10 at home, and an incredible 19-6 on the road, 9-1 in their last 10. I think they're going to just cruise to the finish line here in early June. I think we can almost declare them the winner of the AL West.
Wow, I think it would be a major collapse if they would have blow that lead and to fall back to the pack, because they're dominating, Rich. They're just not winning games. They're dominating, and they look unbelievable this year. But we spoke about them last year. They had a good team. They were a little disappointing last year. 2 years ago, made the playoffs, and now it's all coming to fruition with that young players and the draft picks that they had. And uh, they look very, very tough.
Yes, they do. They almost look like the Cubs did last year, where everything they did just went right for them. Of course, as you'll tell us in a minute, the NL standings, nothing is really going right for them this year.
No, not at all. But let's start with the East and the Washington Nationals. We've got a 11-game lead. I hate to say that. 11-game lead. They were 34-19. The Mets coming up next at 23-30. Just a awful year. Miami is snuck into third now, 23-31, and Atlanta and Philadelphia bringing up the rear there. In the Central, the surprising Milwaukee Brewers, 29-26, got a game and a half lead over the world champion Chicago Cubs, who are at 500. Maybe they're starting to get it together, the Cubbies, and will make a move. Followed by the St. Louis Cardinals, who are 26-27. And look what happened in the West. The Dodgers have snuck into a percentage point lead, a virtual tie, 4 percentage points or 4/10 of percentage points ahead. They're ahead of Colorado, um, who slips a little bit, but they're in a virtual tie. And Arizona has slipped the game back at 34-24. So that's going to be a race to watch. The West and the Central, and I think the AL East and the AL Central are going to be the races to watch in both leagues.
Very interesting there. I love that NL West, how they're all bunched up. If we remember, it used to be the Giants and the Dodgers back and forth for many years. Now we got the Rockies and the Diamondbacks adding to the mix. So nice little change of teams, even with our surprise teams, Twins, the Brewers. Every team needs its own day, and it would be a shame if the same team kept dominating each year. So we got a little flavor going this year.
And Rich, really, the Cubs, everything fell in place last year. Their pitching and everything, and this year it's not. And look, they're still a good ball team. They're still a dangerous ball team, but it just goes to show you that you can just get hot one year and go right through it, and the next year, not the same thing can occur. And if you think about it, they almost lost that World Series. I mean, Cleveland actually should have won it. They were up 3-1, I believe, at one point. And even in game 7, Cleveland almost pulled it out. Another one or two more key hits, and they would have possibly been the world champions. But that's not a knock on the Cubs. It's just that this is what happens. And sometimes you're so busy with all the hoopla of winning the World Series and the appearances and stuff, and there's a certain fatigue factor. We've seen it with the Giants, and maybe this is not going to be the Cubs year. Maybe next year they'll be back again.
Yes, indeed. And this late breaking story just happened late this afternoon. Of course, Edinson Volquez pitched the no-hitter today for his team, the Miami Marlins, and they faced the Phillies about a week ago. And I think the confidence of him beating the Phillies, he got his first win on the season when he beat the Phillies. Prior to that, he was 0-7, Gary, and today he pitches a no-hitter, which he dedicated to Yordano Ventura and Jose Fernandez today in a post-game interview. But great there for Edinson Volquez. You can see how your luck can change in this league in a matter of a week or so.
Yeah, and I believe he did it against the Diamondbacks. So, and they're a pretty good lineup, Rich. So, congratulations to Volquez on that the no hitter. And I think, is that the first one of this season? I believe it is.
I think it may be. And Volquez hadn't won a game, and I believe it was before the Phillies last week. It was like 17 games that they were saying that Volquez hadn't won once he transferred over to the Marlins, and even and combined with his Kansas City pitching. So great game there from Volquez today, and he turned something bad into something great.
There you go, and congratulations.
Let's go over the top teams and the power rankings in baseball. According to ESPN, I know some weeks we go with MLB's power rankings, but this is week 7 for ESPN's power rankings. Houston Astros at number 1 with 35-16 record as the time we're doing the show here. Washington Nationals, number 2. Dodgers at number 3. Rockies coming in at number 4, and they really came out of nowhere this season. And the Yankees at number 5. So that rounds out our top 5 teams according to ESPN. And I don't see the Cubs up there anymore.
I think the Cubs are coming in at 6 or 7. 7 the Cubs are up at now. So they slipped a little bit. Diamondbacks are in 6, but no teams you can really complain about. They're all challenging for the division leads and playing some good baseball. So it reflects that.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have Mr. Brewtown on in the near future on one of our shows here. We're going to have to talk to him about the Brewers and find out what the secret is with that team this year.
Well, I think they have some good young players. They can certainly hit. Their problem has been in the past is pitching, but they may have discovered some good young pitching, and all you need is 1 or 2 nowadays, and with the kind of hitting that they get, it could carry them. I know they beat the Mets the last 2 games of a 4-game series here, and got some real good pitching from Chase Anderson and Junior Guerra. So and Gallardo pitched a pretty decent game and lost against the Mets. So you get a couple of pitches and it could carry it, and they certainly have the bats.
That's true. Well, keep an eye on that for the foreseeable future. And we want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast and invite you to check out our YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button. And also, if you can, hit the share button. We're also on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. We'd appreciate any comments, or if you want to leave us some feedback on iTunes or one of the other services. And of course, check out baseballtalkradio.com. It's the home of great baseball talk shows. Gary has a few shows, including our own on there. He's got his Mets musings and is soon to start up again the AAA New York Penn League. Great podcast there, which I look forward to. So check that out, baseballtalkradio.com. Gary, it's going to be another great week. And as you said, the warm weather, it's baseball weather.
Yes, sir. It's warming up out there. The balls will start flying, and the shirt sleeves will come off. And then hopefully the next game I go to, I won't have to wear 2 jackets to keep warm, because I've gone twice and froze both. One was the worst, but worse than the other. But now hopefully it's going to be shirt sleeve weather.
Yes, indeed. Well, we'll talk to you again on the next edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show, everyone. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe to the show.